Hello everyone. I'm going to show you how to de-embed an element with the DWM V2 wattmeter. Now there's a few important things you should know about these elements. First one being is the power rating, then there's going to be the frequency range of operation, then there's going to be the element type, so that would be either it's a 30 UA or a 100 UA element type, then there's going to be what line section it's for. Now you'll see here I have a 1 5/8 line section. It's not necessarily a good idea to use a line section that's made for a bird 43 or a 7/8 line section in, let's say, this 1 5/8 line section. There's elements specifically designed for it. So keep in mind on that. Make sure you use the element that's according to the line section that it's designed for. Now, in order to do this de-embed, we're going to need a transmitter or a radio. In this case, I have a TS790A from Kenwood. It's capable of outputting around 50 watts, and I'm going to be using it on 146.46 megahertz, so just outside of the frequency range of this element, and you're going to see that we can still de-embed this element just fine, even though we're outside the frequency range. And even though there's elements out there that are designed between 400 megahertz and all the way up to 1 gigahertz, and you can very easily use it for the 2 meter band, so all the way down to 144 megahertz just fine. The other thing that we're going to need is a trusted power meter. Now, this trusted power meter has been calibrated. I have full confidence in this meter. If you wanted to use another bird meter, you absolutely can. Just keep in mind that there is a lot of variance in those meters, and the purpose of doing this de-embed is to have a matched reading with a trusted power source. So you're taking something that you do know and you're putting it into this guy right here. All right, so now let's go ahead and de-embed this element. So we're going to hit the menu button. We're going to go to Element. Now we're going to choose our element memory slot that we want to de-embed for. Now make sure that you have your element memory slot configured. Make sure it's configured to the element that you already have, that you're going to be de-embedding. So in this case, we're just going to go with the first one here. And now we're going to go down to de-embed and hit Enter. Then Quick DE. And now this is where UA type is, our element type. So that's going to be a 30 UA element type because it's for a 7/8 line section and it's bird. Coaxi Dynamics, I believe it's 30 UA for all of their elements. I could be wrong for some of them, but that's my understanding at least. So let's hit Enter on 30 UA. Now we're going to choose our de-embedding range. This is the range that we want our elements to be somewhat accurate for. Now, because we're going to be using this meter in 2x mode, we're going to choose a 200% full scale range. If you wanted to use this thing in 4x mode, well, you de-embed over 400% full scale range. Now, there's some people that like to use their elements in very low power ranges. That would be the perfect case for that would be using a 50% full scale range. So we're going to go ahead and choose our 200% full scale de-embed range. Now for our de-embed type here, this is how many points that we're going to be de-embedding over. So this is how many power snapshots that we're going to be taking in order to map power values to what this element is actually giving off in terms of voltage. So if you go with a 1 point, it's going to work. It's going to get you close, but it won't be perfect. You could go with a 2 point or even a 3 point. In this case, we will be going with a 3 point for the sake of this video. And if you want even higher accuracy, go to a 4 point as well. So let's go with a 3 point. So what you're going to see here is a few things. You're going to see our point and then 1 out of 3. That means this is our first point that we're going to be, our first data point that we're going to be trying to capture here out of 3 that we chose from our de-embed type from before. Now, the next part down here is going to be our power level. We need this power value to match what our trusted power meter is reading out to us. So that's going to be a little tricky, especially if your transmitter or radio is fluctuating in power, or if your trusted power meter is fluctuating also. So we have a little cursor here that we can go ahead and edit. We can go ahead and move around on, and we can change our power values. So just remember, we need this value to match what our power meter is reading. The next here is going to be on our bottom left. This is our element type. So this is just to let us know, hey, yep, you are de-embedding a 30 UA element. And then on the bottom right here is going to be how many volts, how many millivolts our element is outputting to us. This is a very important data point for a snapshot. So our meter here needs a reference power to work off of, and it's going to take that and map it to this millivolt value right here. So I'm going to key up, for example, and you're going to see what's going to happen. So as I key up, you're seeing 8.5 watts here, and now we're seeing a little bit of voltage coming off our element here. So now I'm going to tune down my transmitter, because I can in this case. If you can't tune down your transmitter, well, then you would just go ahead and you'd start changing your power value here to match what your power meter is reading out to you. But in my case, I'm able to adjust it, and I'm going to try to adjust my power value, my radio here, down to about 5 watts. So let's keep going down. There we go. Let's go 5.03. Now, before I hit enter, you're going to see a flashing cursor here right on our power suffix. On our power suffix here, we can choose between milliwatts and watts. This is quite useful when you have an element that's going to be getting you in between certain scales. So just keep that in mind. Now, when you're here, don't press enter yet. Make sure you are transmitting, and this value, that your power value here, matches your power value on your trusted power meter. So once you hit enter, it's going to take a snapshot of your voltage and then the power as well. So make sure you're transmitting when you hit enter after the cursor is here. So I'm going to key up 5.026. Let's see, maybe I can 5.025, and then now I hit enter to take that snapshot. And then now I can release my microphone. I can release my key. Try to use a CW or FM modulation scheme. You don't want anything that's fluctuating in power to do this measurement. So either, for a lot of the CB guys out there, try to go dead key when you're doing your de-embedding. So now it's recommending us to use 10 watts on our transmitter to do our de-embed. So I'm going to tune up my power to about 10 watts. And then here we are. So about 10 watts. Doesn't have to be perfect, just to make it easy for us. We'll get close. Now it's going to be 10.03. 10.05. Nope, 03. All right. Now we go over to our suffix here. We try to hit enter. I'm going to go down a little bit, try to match it quickly. Now we hit enter. Now we can release our transmitter. We can release our key here. So our transmitter's off now. We can go on to the next point. So now it's recommending us to do 15 watts. I'm going to key up again. And I'm going to tune my transmitter up to about 15 watts. Here we are. Exceeded a little bit. And there you go. Just trying to minimize the work for myself. And we're going to go 15. Was this 15 point? Well, it's fluctuating a little bit here. So I'm going to bring up the power just a little bit. 15.3. I'm going to release. I'm going to go over to my watts here, my suffix, and I'll try to just tune it. I just want it to be just nice. 15, oops. There we go. I'm going to hit enter now. That's close enough, I'd say. Now, once you get your result, you're going to see a little bit of element information. First, you can see your power rating that you have set for it, your UA type that you had set for it as well. And then you're going to see your 3 coefficients. It's really important that these coefficients all show an actual number. If any one of them shows invalid, that means something went wrong in your de-embed. That means perhaps you accidentally released your key, or your transmitter turned off, or you moved your element or something like that when you took this measurement. So make sure you are transmitting when you take your snapshots, when you take your measurements. And make sure also that none of these show invalid. If it shows invalid, it's going to tell you to restart. If they do not show invalid, so if they all show a number here, you're most likely good to go, and you should have a pretty good result now. So let's hit enter, and we're going to go ahead and apply this de-embed. Great. So for the sake of it, I'll save. There is autosave configured on this meter, but you could manually save just fine. That's okay too. So let's go back now. All right. So now we have our de-embed. I'm going to go ahead and go into our element identify menu by clicking the menu button and enter button at the same time. So now this is going to give us some information on our element. You're going to see, again, our 10 watt, 30 UA, and hey, look at that. This is the same de-embed information that we had from when we did our de-embed. So that means our element 1 is now configured to have the de-embed of this element. So now we should see quite an accurate power result on this element that matches this. Now on our element 2 here, so we can go up and down and scroll. Let's go to our element 2. This is the other de-embed. This is a non-calibrated one, a non-de-embedded. This is what the default de-embed value. And I'm going to show you the difference between a default de-embed and an actual de-embed value that we've obtained through this test here. So I'm going to hit enter to select our element, and let's key up. So I'm going to key up. Now we've got 15.5, 15.4, and we're fluctuating really close to that. Yeah, we're pretty darn close. 15.7, 15.3, 15.3, 15.2. There's a little bit of fluctuation in this transmitter here. So that's quite nice. I'm going to bring down our power value here. Let's tune down our transmitter. We got about 4.58, 4.58, 4.59. Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now we're going to see what it looks like without the de-embed. So you could either do the element identify menu here, or you can quickly select your element by holding the enter button and clicking the down or up arrows quickly to switch between elements. So now we're on element position number 2. Element power rating is 10. And just to make sure, we can see here, we still have the default de-embed. So this is not the same one as the one we just did that's configured for element number 1 slot. So now I'm going to hit enter on element 2. So now, again, element 2. This is not the de-embed one. This is not the de-embedded memory slot. I'm going to hit the key here. Now you can see 4.56 and 4.1. That's pretty far off. Let's turn the power up a little bit. Let's go up to about 16 watts-ish. Yeah, look at that, 17 watts and 16 watts. We're a whole watt off now. And now if we go down, 17.24, oh, we're fluctuating a little bit. 16.94, 17.06, much better. So there we go. This is how you de-embed your element. One more thing before we go. I wanted to tell you a little bit about how I keep track of these elements. So in this case, I have a little label right here that I use for my label maker, and it's got the de-embedding information from another de-embed on here. So now I could take this element and enter it into whatever meter I want. Let's say this one. We're going to go to element. We're going to go down to our second memory slot here. We're going to go down to de-embed, edit. Now we can change our coefficient values so it matches what this element's showing. Remember, this element was done. This element was de-embedded with a completely different wattmeter here. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in these values. So we've got 8.63, 8.63. We go to coefficient 2. It's going to be 363.54. And then coefficient 3, negative 0.28. And 0. Great. And go back, hit save. Awesome. Now, let's plug in this element here. Let's go up to our second one, and just to show you that our de-embeds match, 8.63 here, 363, 0.54, and negative 0.28. That matches our element. Let's see how accurate we can actually be with this. So I'm going to key up. And by the way, this element was de-embedded maybe like 6 months ago. So, so there may be a little bit of variance here, but we can see it's still quite accurate. 16.8, 17.04, only a couple hundred milliwatts off. So that's quite nice. Let's tune down our power a little bit and see what we get on the lower end. 3.98, 4.04, 4.037, 4.03. Not bad. Not bad for an element that was de-embedded a long time ago on a completely different meter. So this just comes to show that you can take an element, de-embed it, give it to your friend, and then all they have to do is just enter in these values, and now they have a perfectly accurate bird meter within a percent or two. and so in some cases even less than that. Now beware, on the backs of these meters here, there's that cable that comes from your line section and connects into your meter here. Beware that some meters have a very long cable and other meters have a very short cable. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you do a de-embed. Yeah, so the variation in the lengths of those cables can cause some error there. Not a whole lot, but maybe 1% or so at the most. So there you are. Thanks for watching.